This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to our second Rising Stars webinar in our series. We're going to be speaking to two graduates who will be entering the job market next year to find out a little bit more about what they're looking for from employers and get really a much better understanding of how the whole episode of the pandemic and the jobs market is affecting their outlook. First of all, a brief introduction. My name's Dan Hawes. I'm the co-founder of GRB, or Graduate Recruitment Bureau. We're the go-to platform for high-caliber university students, graduates and recruiters. We set up 23 years ago in 1997 by myself and another graduate who did business studies at Brighton University. And we've steadily grown to around 40 staff at the moment. Our main office is in Brighton and we operate nationally. We've worked with clients across all sectors, some very big firms you may have heard of, like the Post Office, IBM, Unilever and Ocado, to name but a few, but also many fast-growing SMEs, companies that maybe aren't quite in the Premier League yet, not so well known, but they need graduates for their future plans. So we work with a huge number of recruiters, all coming to us to find high caliber graduates. In the time of us being in existence, 23 years, we've actually managed to successfully place over 8,000 graduates into full-time graduate level jobs. So it's very rewarding, very satisfying to steer these graduates onto some fantastic career trajectories and help them get the career that they really deserve after studying for 3 or 4 years. Now, Rising Stars is an initiative we set up quite a few years ago now. Basically, we have a huge talent pool of students and graduates who register with us to find work. Rising Stars is a unique opportunity for graduate employers to access our pick of the UK's finest graduating talent. So every month, our team of recruitment experts will carefully screen and select who they think are exceptional university students, basically the best in class graduating students for 2021. So they're all in their final year and they'll be entering the jobs market next summer. Now, in addition, we'll be showcasing 50 of these rising stars on our website. The page is grb.uk.com /rising-stars. And this enables recruiters to view these individuals and their profiles. So 50 final year students' profiles are published on our website every month. Now, access is entirely free. And in addition, for some extra insight, we run these webinars with 2 or 3, or in some cases 4 rising stars to discuss more about what they're looking for from an employer when they start their career. Now, we know many recruiters haven't been able to visit campuses this year because of the pandemic. Career fairs have been affected, so they've switched to virtual events. But it's really changed the whole experience, not just for students, but also for recruiters. And for those two bodies to actually meet, what we're finding is these webinars are providing hopefully a useful platform for that communication to continue. So that's the reason for Rising Stars. And I'm delighted to introduce to you our 2 rising stars today. So we have Oscar, who's at Imperial College studying material science and engineering. And also we have Emma, who's studying economics at Cambridge University. So first of all, I'd like them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit more about themselves, and then we'll crack on to find out a little bit more about what they're looking for from employers. So maybe we could start with Oscar, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sounds great, Dan. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Hi, my name's Oscar. and I study material science. I am lucky enough to come from a mixed heritage background, so that has allowed me to gain a nuanced view on the world and really appreciate different viewpoints and just understanding in the workplace. I actually have quite a lot of customer facing experience, and I'm looking very much forward to applying this to the workplace, hopefully next year.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Oscar. We're looking forward to finding out a little bit more about you shortly. Emma, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name's Emma, and I'm studying economics at the University of Cambridge. I really enjoy economics, and I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to apply some of the skills and knowledge I've learned in my degree in a role where it can have like a practical implication rather than just theoretical.
Excellent. Okay, so you're all gearing up for when you graduate next summer. So heads down, trying to get the best grade as possible, all the while with a view on choosing certain employers that you like the look of, that could provide you with the right opportunities that enable you to reach your potential. But let's get into some of the more of the detail about what you're looking for. So, Oscar, if you could explain maybe 3 things that particularly draw you to a particular employer, please.
Of course. So 3 things. First would be career development and support offered by a potential employer, because I really believe that it's important to facilitate new graduates transition to the workplace, because it is, in all honesty, a very big difference. And especially with the uncertainty of being in the workplace with coronavirus, it's more important than ever to have internal mentors or even a buddy, just to have that first point of contact, to just someone to talk to, especially when working virtually. In addition to that, I really like the fact that some employers offer support and training allocations for professional qualifications. The second thing I'm looking for is the potential to see the broader business via rotations or even secondments. And I find that it's really important, because it's so crucial to understand the wider picture of how a business works, and that way you can understand, so you can gain insights into so many different things. In addition to that, it allows networking, and it allows someone new like me to know who to talk to, and it's really useful to understand what they do. So just in that respect. In addition to that, with the benefit of rotations, would be moving ideas laterally. So for example, if I was in a role A and I moved to role B, it would be really useful to transfer some of that new knowledge in role A to role B that higher level managers just didn't know about, because these changes were implemented last month, for example. The third thing I'm looking for would be impact, my personal impact on the company and the company's impact on the world. As an employee, you'd spend a lot of time in the company because it is your career. And I really strongly believe that you have to believe in the company that you're working for and the people you work with. This really gives motivation to an individual. For example, in the tutoring company I used to work for, they actually gave out scholarships to people who they thought they deserved financial help. And I was really proud to work for this company, because it just meant they were giving back to the community. Thank you.
Brilliant. 3 really interesting points there. The first one, particularly the support that you'd like from the very beginning, especially if you're being onboarded or trained virtually. It'd be great to have a buddy or a mentor, as you suggested, and many, certainly bigger organizations, have things like that in place to ease people into the organisation, but I think more companies will be considering this now because of people maybe working from home, and they do need extra support. It's a known fact that online courses have higher dropout rates because there's less support. So replacing that in-person communication and relationship building, that's so vital for graduates making that transition and feeling settled from the beginning. I think technology will help greatly now, and everyone's a lot more comfortable with it. So I think that's something that you can reasonably expect. In terms of rotations, that's something that some organisations will be able to accommodate, maybe after your training. Say your training program is for a year or two, they'll want to assess where your skills are best suited. So the chances are there will be elements of rotation within those training programs for you to identify where you'd like to see your career going, but also from the employer's point of view. So that time is very much used for both parties, I think, to identify where you're best suited. So hopefully,
can I just add one more thing, if that's okay?
Yeah.
For smaller employers, which there are many and they are really the backbone of the country, they could potentially have a day of just full of presentations, just giving an insight, or just a long document giving an insight to what different parts of the company do. Because I appreciate that it is very difficult to essentially train up a new person again and again on 4 to 6 month rotations and not get anything out of the employee.
Yeah, for bigger firms, it's a well-oiled machine. They have the resources and they're able to do this seamlessly. With a smaller firm, it involves more organisation. So like you say, it could be scaled down to having rotations just based on a day-to-day basis. And certainly with startups where by their nature they have people who are working in all different types of roles, you will grow with that organization. So it really depends on the size of the organization, really, whether they can accommodate that. There will be companies that say, no, I want your specific skill set for this particular role. And then, they'll as long as they have a career path for you, and you can see how you can progress, that might be something that you may want to consider as well. But for others, they want to feel out, where the opportunities lie, that they could transfer their skills into different areas. So it can be quite hard to tell because, for most graduates, this is their first proper job. They may not have had internships or placements to kind of figure that out. So it really depends on, when you apply for these companies, you ask those questions, I guess, to make sure that they can accommodate that. And your final point about making a positive impact, I mean, absolutely. We're talking with so many graduates from this generation who want job satisfaction. Who doesn't? But there are so many bigger issues now than purely working for a company driven by profit. There are ways to do this ethically that have minimal effect on the environment and things like that. So I think, quite rightly, this generation are being very picky about which organisations they join that matches their values. So, most companies will have CSR policies, and it really pays to research these employers, find out as much as possible to see if it is a good match for you, because you'll end up being very unhappy and it's not rewarding and satisfying. So again, a completely reasonable request there, Oscar. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not currently, but I'd love to hear what Emma would think about my point.
Yeah, well, Emma's at a different university doing a different degree, so let's find out a little bit more from you, Emma. 3 things that you're specifically looking for from an employer when you graduate next summer?
So I think my 3 points are kind of, 2 of them are very similar to Oscar's.
Yeah.
So firstly, I'd like a role where I'm going to be trained and I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to learn. So whether that be a formal qualification or kind of like training within the company, if I'm expected to use like R or Python, or like the technical skills that are relevant. So both having like formal on-the-job training, but also the support that Oscar was talking about. Because I think it can be very daunting having to, say, for example, use a whole new program you've never had to use before and not having anyone to ask for support. So that would be the first thing. And the second thing as well would also be like a role where I can have a positive impact. That would be really nice if like the role itself could do that, but if not, within the company as a whole, like for example, charity days or like pro bono work, and just the company having like a pro society stance. So like with environmental issues and things like that, just in general having good values as a company. And then I think my third thing that I'm really looking for is like a good work-life balance and feeling valued within the company as an individual rather than just like a clog in the wheel. And like knowing that my well-being is being supported and that I'm going to perform my best when I know that I'm cared about rather than just having to do the job without really being anything.
Yeah, that's interesting. That often comes up, Emma, about certainly with a bigger firm, by their nature, that you are a cog in a wheel, but you don't want to feel like that when you come to work every day. You do feel like that you're part of a team, you're valued, you're supported, and they back that up with good remuneration. Of course, you know, you understandably will have financial considerations as well. But it can be more than that. If you want a career with an organisation, you want to grow with them. So it's very much a two-way relationship, especially for graduates where they're just starting out. It's part of a long journey for them, and it's so important your first job on your CV that you're able to start to use the skills that you've learned from university. And not everyone is able to use their degree in their first job. So it's very important to remember your career goals and make sure that employers that you apply for, that you're really putting them on the spot as well, finding out as much as possible from that organisation. You talk about good work-life balance. Now, I guess now that's almost becoming more realistic in that people can work remotely for certain jobs. We're talking office-based jobs here, and that instantly gives you a far better work-life balance. It's not for everyone because they might want to come in to the workplace and meet with colleagues and all the good things that offices were originally designed for. So finding that balance for an individual comes down really to what the employer's expecting from you, but also what you're comfortable with. It might be, one day a month coming into the office. It could be one day a week. But I guess now I think more and more companies are able to offer that. And it's great because you don't need to live within commuting distance of an employer. So, if you're based in Cambridge, let's say, and you're looking for a job in Edinburgh, that could be a possibility now. So I think the work-life balance will become more of a norm as we move forward, and there will be new expectations on employers. So I think, again, completely reasonable to expect that from an employer. Just finally, I'd just like to see if your intentions, have they actually changed in the last 6 months, or were these expectations what you had when you started university? You thought in 3 years time these are the kind of things I'm looking for in an employer, has the situation made you rethink any of these, or has anything particularly changed? Oscar, perhaps we could start with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd just like to add on to the work-life balance section. Obviously, with the pandemic, everyone's well-being is, how do you call it, not as great as it would otherwise be. And I think it's really great that a lot of, one, universities, and two, companies have started to realize this and offered training, offered support. And I think that's something that really needs to continue. It's really sometimes the small things. For example, with flexible working, companies that ensure that their employees are comfortable and you'd have the furniture, for example, to do great work at home. So offering a complimentary desk chair, for example, really makes a difference, because those small things really make me, for example, as an employee, feel wanted and included in the company.
Yeah, it's a good point. The small things really do matter. And graduates have a long list of things that they want, and if you can get 8 out of 10, you're on to a winner. There are some trade-offs, but ultimately we always advise graduates, try and stick to your guns, because ultimately you want to be doing something worthwhile that matches your values, and there's lots of employers to choose from out there, and particularly graduates from Imperial or Cambridge University, are in demand. So you are in the driving seat as well. Emma, can you add anything that maybe over the last few months has made you reassess what you're looking for from an employer, or has it stayed the same?
I think the last few months have probably reaffirmed all of the things that I thought were important before. They've kind of almost become more important to me now, because obviously with the pandemic and people working at home, it's become very apparent which employers care about their workforce and which employers don't. And I think I did an internship over the summer, and I did find it quite difficult to work from home. Obviously, I was able to do the work, but I'd also done an internship the previous summer and much preferred working in the office. But I also knew the firm I was interning with were supporting me in working from home, and I realised how important it was to have had that support. And what Oscar was saying about the free desk chair, for example, we got sent a free monitor and a headset and things like that, which I realised made such a huge difference. So, in particular, the caring about the workforce and a good work-life balance, that's been reaffirmed by the pandemic rather than changing my ideas.
Okay, that's good. And again, you're right about making it comfortable to work at home. I mean, there are other challenges as well, sharing Wi-Fi with other housemates, let's say, or if you're living on your own, it can be quite isolating. So it's a really personal thing, and I think we've all got to go through it and experiment and decide what works best for us. And ultimately, employers will be measuring productivity, of course, but for certain jobs or certain projects where you don't actually need to be in an office, there are strong arguments for doing it remotely, and other things where maybe there's more of a creative process required. We need to spark off other people in a room, then it would be best to be in an office. So we're going to see how the things pan out, but certainly the way we work, I think, will change considerably. The jobs will still be there. There are plenty of sectors who are recruiting huge numbers of graduates right now, and I think that will continue and accelerate. Other sectors we know will take a lot longer to recover, but we are hopeful that the jobs market will be great in the summer of 2021, and you'll both be in very strong positions to apply for these jobs and have your wishes met by employers. So plenty of time to build up your skill set while you're at university, get a really good degree, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you in the next few months and talking to you about employers who are interested. So it's been very interesting hearing about your backgrounds, Oscar and Emma, and finding out a little bit more about what you're looking for as you prepare to graduate next summer. Thank you both very much. All that remains to me to say is that the profiles for Oscar and Emma will be on Rising Stars webpage. This is what it looks like. So if you're a recruiter looking to find out a little bit more, maybe you want to see the CVs for any of our Rising Stars, please visit the website. I'll be more than happy to make an introduction. So I will sign off now and look forward to presenting next time. Thank you both, and all the very best.